Imagine a 1950s family for a moment. A typical day for a woman started by preparing her family for the day. This included cooking breakfast, making lunches, and making sure everyone had the essentials they needed to be successful that day. While her family was gone, her job title was housewife. Her duties included keeping the house spotless, preparing and shopping for that evening's meal, as well as taking care and nurturing the young children. She did not have a college education, with 38% of women in college in 1958 and only 29.6% of all women held a job, according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. She was at complete submission with her husband, who was the authority and decision maker of the family. Each day, the man went to his job that most likely needed a college degree and was expected to bring home the bacon. He expected a hot meal when returning home that evening, along with a clean house in order to relax from the hard, stressful day he had at work. The family would give their father time to relax and possibly conclude the evening with some quality family time. Obviously, this is a very different picture than what we think of today. Men and women today are not seen in the same light as many were in the 1950s. Through describing deviance of gender roles in the past 60 years as a result of conflict theory, we will show how gender roles have quickly changed to create a new expectation for men and women.
In the 1950s, the expectation for men and women were far different than we see today. What was seen as deviant behavior was as follows. A woman was expected to be an obedient wife that cared for the children and the home. The expectation for a man was to be the authority and decision maker of the family, as well as provide financially for kids and wife. The violation for breaking these norms were women having jobs that required college education, making decisions, and putting their child in a daycare, men staying at home, taking the Mr. Mom role as the caretaker for children and allowing their wife to have full authority to make all decisions. The reaction for these violations would have been society taking steps to show that these roles were not acceptable and possibly not allow these men and women to be active members of the community through alienation.
Society teaches gender roles as soon as they are born, with girls receiving all pink presents and boys receiving all blue gifts. Society teaches children that girls and boys have separate expectations of what toys they can play with, such as boys playing with trucks and play fighting, while girls care for dolls and play house. Society also teaches children which emotions are acceptable for their gender. Boys must be manly and hold in their emotions, while girls are free to cry and talk about theirs.
Although society teaches kids these gender roles at such an early age, in the past 60 years there has been major changes to how society views gender roles as they pertain to grown men and women. In the 1960s, there was a major women's movement that encouraged women to have an equal voice as men did. Women were allowed more legal rights that also encouraged women to take charge for changing the historic views of gender roles in America. Women began to get a better education to be able to follow their dreams in becoming a businesswoman, engineer, and other occupations that were traditionally only for men. In the year 2000, 46.6% of women held a job. Gradually, over the last 60 years, it became acceptable for women to be equally represented at the university level. The gender gap in receiving a college degree has actually reversed, with 50% of all bachelor degrees being gained by women. Women had conflicting interests of wanting to be a caretaker for their children, but also having meaning in their life with having an education and career. It is this idea between competing interests that is the basic animating force of social change.
Just as women were being encouraged to follow their career aspiration ideals, for men shifted as well. Slowly, men began getting educated in areas of interest to them that were not necessarily considered manly. They began to take on roles of having a more prominent role in their child's life, and this trend continues today as men become more outwardly compassionate and loving towards their loved ones in their life. Men still feel the need to be a provider for their family, but have conflicting interests of spending more time with their children. Another trend that continues to gain momentum today is splitting authority among the man and wife, as well as making decisions together rather than apart. Even more recently, the economy has put gender roles at competing interests, which has resulted in many societal changes. Because of the declining economy, a good job that provides for a family is a sacred aspect in our society. With millions of job losses and layoffs, women are further forced to get a job to help provide for their family. Layoffs have led to men becoming full-time fathers at times that stay at home and do whatever was once a woman's job of nurturing the children and cleaning the house.
Through the combination of the declining economy and encouraging women's movement, gender roles have changed dramatically. These conflicting interests have put women into positions of power, with 18 women currently CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, a statistic that would have been unheard of 60 years ago. This power shift has also impacted men. Men are beginning to be seen in slightly more compassionate jobs as well as low-income jobs due to the failing economy. Men are seen as sharing authority with their wives, if not giving them full authority at times. After 60 years of changing gender roles through the competing interests of the conflict theory, gender role expectations have changed. It is no longer considered deviant behavior for women to have high paying jobs and men to have a more prominent role in their child's life. The new expectations are women and men have equal partnership in raising their family, with men and women both going to college and getting a job to provide for their family. The new violation for these expectations are both men and women being unemployed and not actively seeking a job, having no plans and being comfortable with their current lifestyle. And the new reaction being that society severely judges those men and women, and there is the assumption that these men and women are not equally contributing to society.